Another switchback. Wait, this isn't the top. Where's the summit? Why am I doing this?
At REI Co-op, we believe there are places within ourselves
Almost there. You got this.
that we find only outside.
Wow. This is worth it.
We have the gear, inspiration, and advice to help you get there. REI Co-op. Visit rei.com.
Good night, itchy eyes. Good night, sudden sneeze. Good night to your symptoms of allergies. Xyzal is the allergy medicine you take before bed. It provides powerful relief while you rest your head. Not just all night, but all the next day. Xyzal keeps working, keeping allergies at bay. And without those annoying symptoms disturbing your rest, you can wake up the next morning feeling your absolute best. Remember, be wise all. Take Xyzal. At night.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the G-Spot. So for our final episode, I can't believe it's the final episode of season 3, we have a brilliant episode for you. It's with the very, very, very colourful, very fascinating Taryn De Vere. Taryn describes themselves as a joy bringer, a multidisciplinary artist, and also they're a parent. So in this episode, we get into a lot of different topics, really. We talk about sex-positive parenting, about different sex education experiences because Taryn is from Australia, about pleasure, about conscious sexuality, which I really loved that part of the discussion particularly. And I think it's something that could benefit a lot of our sex lives. It's a really, really, really good episode to end the season with. Thank you so much for being with me for another season, for another 8 episodes. I hope you'll be with me for many, many more. And I know you're probably sick of hearing this from all the podcasts you listen to, but it really does make a difference when you tell a friend about the podcast, when you leave a rating, leave a review, hopefully all 5 stars, hopefully all good. And also subscribe to Headstuff Plus on headstuffpodcast.com to get all your bonus bits because there's been 8 bonus episodes this season as well. So I hope you've had a good time, as good a time as I have had with all these amazing guests. I hope to see you very soon again at the G-Spot. Enjoy the episode. Taryn, is it De Vere?
Taryn De Vere, yeah.
Taryn De Vere.
Yeah.
So how do I best describe you? Because you've loads of different strings to your bow.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I kind of just say I'm a joy bringer because it covers loads of things. But what I'm a multidisciplinary artist.
Yeah.
I'm a freelance journalist. I have a contract with RTE at the moment, but I also work as a freelance journalist. Mm-hmm. I'm artistic coordinator for Creative Places Darndale. So I'm running an artistic program for a specific community in Dublin. So I'm also a creative producer, award-winning curator, TEDx speaker.
Amazing. I know, I was looking at your bio. I was like, can I pick 2? No, I want to get all of them in.
Yeah, so there's like lots of things there. So, but yeah.
Amazing.
Just all-round creative, I suppose.
Yes. And you're also a parent?
I am.
Yes.
I have 5 kids. Yeah.
Yes, 5 kids. And because I definitely want to touch on that sex-positive parenting that you've mentioned before. It's something, I'm not a parent, but I think I'm going to be very aligned with what you say because I really do think we need to look at how we're talking to kids about all kinds of aspects of sex. But did you yourself get sex education growing up?
I did, yeah. I had great sex education.
Great.
Because I was brought up, I went to school in Australia.
Yeah.
And Australia at the time, I have no idea what it's like now, to be honest with you, but I can't imagine it's become that regressive in this particular area.
Yeah.
But our sex education was excellent. I also had a parent that I think for the time was very sex positive. You know, in terms of not really having any sort of shame around naked bodies and naming things the correct names and stuff like that. And, you know, probably wasn't as sex positive as I am as a parent, but certainly was a good basis in sex positivity, role modelling. And in school was brilliant. Like I remember we did a day of learning how to put a condom on.
That's great.
And that this was a mixed school. I think we're about 15, and it was like, okay, this is how you put a condom on. And very just sort of no embarrassment from the teachers. It was just very matter of fact.
Amazing.
We're just teaching you another subject because all these subjects are important for you to know as you go through life. And I think generally the culture there probably is more sex positive.
Okay, that's really interesting. So how does that compare to, let's say, when did you come to Ireland? When did you move
I came to Ireland in 1998.
And okay, right.
And got quite the shock.
I was kind of thinking, like, even the difference between now and 98.
Oh, it's huge. It is huge.
You know, in Ireland.
You couldn't even buy hummus in Ireland in 1999. I remember going to all the places going like, hummus? And everyone being like, what?
What's that? What's that fancy thing? Notions.
Yeah, let alone sourdough. No. None of that was around. Ooh. Oh, well, it certainly wasn't any of the places I was going anyway. Yeah, very different culture shock coming here.
Yeah.
And obviously I knew that it's a very religious country.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
and
it is so much
been,
now.
I suppose. Yeah, historically, yeah.
But I think I did get quite a shock, really, I think, about how conservative young people were.
Okay.
That was the thing I found really shocking. I was a young person. I was 21 when I came here. And I was very surprised by the conservative views of the other people my age.
Yeah, that must have been quite a shock. I've never been to Australia, and it's funny, I've actually never... Like the culture, let's say, around sex and sex education there, I really have no knowledge of. Like I've learned about places in Europe, let's say. I hear a lot about different parts of America, what it's like there. Yeah. But I hadn't actually considered, but it's great. That's brilliant that I presume it probably is still quite sex positive in that way.
I think culturally, it would be kind of hard to go too regressive.
Yeah.
I think they are culturally more sex positive generally and more sort of... comfortable with sexuality and discussions around sexuality.
Okay, good. I'll have to go over and start meeting people over there and see what they're doing, in their in their curriculum and in schools. Because here it is progressing. It has gotten much better. But I still think
not in a standardized way. Like one of my children went entirely through school without receiving any sex education other than what they got in primary school. And primary schools are very sort of, this is the names for the body parts.
Yeah.
And even in primary school, I remember the school held a meeting to discuss with the parents to discuss the curriculum that they were going to be doing with the kids, and they were saying, kind of asking the parents, like, which terminology do you think we should use? And I was saying the correct terminology.
Yeah.
And I was like, why is the word vulva not on this list?
Yeah.
And actually the principal at the time said, I thought the same thing, but this is the list that came through and it doesn't have vulva. And it's a big bugbear of mine is that people mix up vulva and vagina.
Yeah.
And people are always talking about a vagina and they mean vulva. So, I was happy that the principal at the time was in agreement with me there.
Yeah.
But I just found that really odd. Like, why? It's just another body part.
Exactly.
And calling things by the names by some other weird name or ignoring a name or a pet name for something, it adds shame to...
Yeah.
Adds shame to a body part as if we can't even say the word.
100%. Like we have all the names for all of our other body parts. So why not those parts?
Yeah.
And... I think as well, it kind of sets children up, as you said, to maybe feel shame about that part of their body, but also not to understand like the different parts and how it all works. Like even the clitoris, just knowing where it is and what it is.
Exactly.
That's just fact.
Yes.
That's not encouraging anything. It's not indoctrinating. You hear all this language now, all this sensationalist language. It's literally just part of their body that exists.
Of course it is.
And important parts.
Yeah. And also like pleasure is inherent to us as humans.
Yes.
And we are taking pleasure from our own bodies from a very young age. So I don't know why anybody has a problem with anybody experiencing any self-pleasure for themselves, no matter what age they are.
Even it's just such a safe... Like, it's not, one thing, about having sex with a partner, whatnot. Obviously, there are risks that come with that, whatnot. Yes. But just enjoying our own bodies, like, what is the risk? What is the difficulty or the discomfort here? I struggle as well with that.
Yeah.
I don't know, is it because people struggle to think of children, obviously, because children aren't, in the sense sexual beings, like they're obviously not ready to have sex. They're children, of course.
Yeah.
But, even just touching ourselves for just that physical pleasure, that self-soothing.
Yes.
That's not necessarily sexual in nature.
Yeah, it's just the pleasure you take from your body.
exactly.
You might get the same thing from rubbing your hand in a gentle way, or your arm, or your head, or your face,
Yeah.
I do find that type of moralizing over self-pleasure a bit bizarre.
It must have, I suppose, religious roots, really. If we look back enough, that surely must be where it's coming from.
Yeah. Well, if you look at other cultures that don't have the influence of Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
you can see that they're much more sexually liberated and they're much more comfortable with people, people taking pleasure from their own bodies.
Yeah.
Independent of other people, because of course that's a different conversation, particularly when you're talking about people under the age of 18.
Of course, yeah.
But I do find that kind of it's a strange kind of moralizing over what other people can do with their bodies.
Yeah, it is. And I run a program for schools, and we go to lots of different schools, and we do primary schools as well, mostly 5th class and 6th class. But obviously it's up to the school to have us in if they want. It's totally optional, we're external. But it was interesting because we work with a fabulous school, but one piece of feedback that came back was I think a teacher thought that masturbation was more appropriate for 6th class, but not 5th class to mention. And I just kind of had to really, gently explain that, well, basically they can be masturbating from literally any age.
That's
like
right.
toddlers can masturbate. I was masturbating from 6. I didn't know what it was, but I was doing it and it felt lovely and it was self-soothing. And then I found out I was autistic later in life, which can be part of the, the sensory seeking as well and the self-soothing. But even if you're not, neurodiverse, you can masturbate from any age in private, obviously.
That's right, yeah.
And basically that the reason we mention it in schools is to just let kids know that, like, this is something people do. If you do it, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, that's okay.
Yeah.
And just do it in private.
Exactly.
So just really basic stuff. It's not like, go home and do it now.
Yeah.
That's not what anyone really is. Well, I say it to adults, but,
exactly.
Like,
it reminds me of when one of my sons started high school, and the high school has a reputation for each year showing the boys this video about why masturbation is a sin, and they also would show a horrific kind of abortion video.
Oh my God.
So I, on the first day of school, rang the school and said, if you tell my child that masturbation is wrong or show my child that abortion video, I will sue you. I was like, I do not give permission for this.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not okay. And I put it in writing as well. And the teacher that I was talking to was just sort of stuttering, not knowing what to say to me. And I was saying, it is not okay to teach somebody that they can't take pleasure from their own body. And I do not give my consent for that.
No.
Because I just find it profoundly shocking.
It is. When was that? Do you mind me asking?
That would have been about 10 years ago.
Okay. Still not that long ago at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay, well, look, hopefully things are changing, hopefully moving in the right direction. I hope so.
Me too.
No, I think things are, but, it takes a long time, I think, for real cultural shifts to happen.
Yeah.
And I think, to be fair, considering our history and how close some of it is, we've done pretty well. We just need to keep going.
Amazing. Like the difference in the 25 years-ish that I've been here is incredible. I think Ireland's becoming one of the most progressive countries in the world.
Great.
Yeah,
well, that's good coming from someone
speaking.
from... Yeah.
I really do.
Okay.
I think it's amazing. And people are really... Yeah, I think people are very open and much more interested in looking at and analysing and being a bit more critical about some of the information and messaging that maybe they've grown up with, or that's soaked into the culture and institutions around us.
Yeah, that's half my work. Like when I work with particularly women one-to-one, they'll often say, no one sat me down and necessarily said that sex was bad, but you received the messaging in a million other different subtle ways, not so subtle sometimes. Yeah. And then they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s onwards, and they're like, I no longer believe this from a logical point of view. I know it's bullshit. Yeah. But it's still lingering in ways, almost in their body, in the back of their psyche. Yeah. So it's can take time to, and it annoys me sometimes. I get really angry at just all that I suppose, pleasure and joy and connection people have missed out on, over the years.
Yeah.
But then, look, if they're coming to me, they want that to change. So that's going to be a positive thing.
Yeah, and bringing consciousness to it, and then being more conscious about not passing on those negative messages to the next generation or other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so when I first reached out to you and I was, kind of seeing what you might be interested in talking about in just the general area of sex, you did mention sex positive parenting. So what does that mean to you? Like, what is sex positive parenting versus...
To me, it's sort of the opposite of the type of parenting that the Catholic Church would love.
Yes, yeah,
in terms of anything to do with bodies or sex in that regard. So it's removing shame from bodies. It's removing shame from the idea that of sex in itself as an inherently pleasurable act. It's having lots of conversations with kids around consent and body autonomy is really key to it. I started having those conversations with my kids when they were about 2, talking to them and about no and yes, and this is your body, and respecting other people's boundaries. I have a couple of hardline rules in my house, and one of them is when I was raising my children in the house, it was that if somebody says no, you stop immediately. So it didn't matter. If I ever heard someone, whether it was another kid in my house or whatever, and someone said no, I would rush to wherever that thing was happening and explain. Especially I had to explain a lot to children coming to my house because I'd hear my own kids shouting no, no, no over and over. And I would go and have to have this autonomy conversation with someone else's kid, which I was like, if you're sending your kid to my house, then you're letting them be influenced by me and my ideas. So, I did a lot of body autonomy conversations with other people's children.
Yeah.
And, some of them were just so confused, which I found really sad.
Yeah.
They found this really confusing. Like, what are you talking about?
The concept of it,
Yeah, and I actually used to run consent workshops for teenagers. And I'll never forget a teenage girl in a workshop we did in Derry. And she was profoundly disturbed by the idea of body autonomy and being able to say no.
Wow.
Now I don't know what was going on for that poor girl.
Yeah. And you don't know. That's the thing. You don't know where people are coming from.
Yeah. And I think about her anytime I'm talking about body autonomy because it was clearly so the other way
alien
to what she had grown up with and been taught. And I found that really just distressing.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, people get the concept pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And understand that, you have to respect your own and other people's personal space and their bodies and their wishes around their bodies. So, I think that's really integral, is that those aspects. And then, I would have been quite comfortable with being naked and nudity and being like, this is what some people's bodies look like.
Yeah.
And because also I think there's very unrealistic ideas of particularly what female sex bodies look like. So my children would have been, certainly when they were younger and everything, when they were little, they were toddlers, or was showered together and stuff like that. And as we've gone through life, I mean, all of my kids have seen me naked. I don't see any shame in that. And it's just a human body. It's not, and why would it be sexualized like I'm their mother? That's not a sexual thing.
Yeah, of course.
And
it's weird that people even make that conversation about that.
I know, I find that so weird. And look, I'm not like, oh, everyone in my house must be naked.
No.
It's again, it's autonomy and it's respect for other people. So if people were like, I don't want to see naked bodies, well then you respect
totally
that.
Fair.
That's
fine.
Of course. But also I felt like we've kind of moved in society to this place where a very specific type of female sex body has become idealized. And I suppose it's part of my campaign to bring back the bush.
Yes, okay.
As well. I'm just like, hey, guess what? Some female bodies have pubic hair.
Wow.
Shock.
Shock.
Yeah. I have a quandary in my own head around that, respecting people's right to do what they want to do with their bodies. Yeah. And also, I think once you have a female sex baby and you are, changing nappies and stuff, I get really freaked out by the fact that people, that there's this whole culture around like don't have any pubic hair. Because to me, it's really infantilizing.
Okay, yeah.
And so I have this sort of fight in my own head around, but you have to respect people's choices with their own bodies. And maybe they don't, for other reasons, they don't like to have, but then in culture, it's become so the norm.
I think that's where the problem is.
Exactly.
It's not that obviously people can do what they want.
Yes.
I always say, diet, plait it, whatever you want to do, get rid of it all.
Yeah.
But it's more that when it becomes the expectation and that it's seen as disgusting or gross or unhygienic or unfeminine, all this nonsense.
Yeah.
I think that's when it starts to get harmful.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
something I get asked very often because of my work in schools. Again, I'm not a parent, so I'm always very conscious that I'm not, telling parents what to do, because sometimes I feel like I can't really do that. But often I will get asked by parents, when should we start having the talks? And my answer, and I can see how you would answer this, my answer is usually, well, we start learning about sex from a really young age, maybe not directly, but we learn about, again, these kind of, and we can get into gender as well, kind of gender norms about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man, and what that means to be sexual. We learn about body image stuff. We've all this messaging from a young age. So I always say it's not that you necessarily have to start talking about sex itself very young, but you can talk about consent, autonomy, boundaries. You can talk about bodies, body parts, all of those. And then I think it depends on the child, essentially, because people are always looking for a specific age because they want that kind of assurance that it's not too early or it's not too late. And I'm like, I can't give you a specific age.
I don't really think that there's anything that's too early because, I don't know, I grew up with that book, Where Do I Come From?
Okay,
and
right.
And it is still in print, same book, and it's kind of these cartoony, kind of fun-looking, kind of very rounded mom and dad figures, and it's kind of like, oh, this is how it all works.
Yeah.
Your mom and dad, have a lot of fun together, and they get naked and they have loads of fun, and they might make some noises and blah blah blah, and and I had that book for my kids and read it to them from when they were sort of 3 or 4. Where Do I Come From?
Yeah.
But
that's a nice way of putting it. It's not, I think sometimes parents worry about the level of detail that they have to give. And
but again, if you have no shame around your body parts, then the level of detail is, yes, there's a penis involved and the penis goes inside the vagina and the sperm goes up and fertilizes an egg. And why is that a problem? Why is that an issue for people to talk about? And this is something that adults do, is always the language I used.
Yeah.
Now, I used that language with my kids when they were younger, and obviously it's not something that just adults do.
I know,
15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds are having sex 100%, sometimes younger, not great in my opinion, but the reality.
Yeah.
And so that's nuances and subtleties. So I just used to say to my kids, this is a thing that adults do.
I would be the same.
And again, not all adults do. There are asexual people and there are people who aren't interested in sex at all, or people who don't have sex for a variety of reasons. But again, subtleties, small kids. I just was going in with the here's the information. This is a thing adults do. This is where kids come from.
Yeah.
If you have no shame around body parts, that's not a difficult conversation to have.
I agree. And I think when I get asked certain questions about, when should I talk about this or how do I phrase this, I'll often kind of ask, first maybe address what it is you're worried about happening. Yeah. So say, for example, if you're worried, if I talk to them about sex at age, whatever, let's just say 8, they might go and try and do something with someone or try and be sexual. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Let's hold space. I know that's such an overused phrase, but let's hold that for a second and that fear. It usually does not happen like that.
No.
But also, again, okay, if that's what you're afraid of, then maybe just spending a bit of time in that conversation saying, and this is for adults, as you said. And when they get a bit older, the conversations are going to become more nuanced, especially around stuff with consent, because I find the way I would talk about consent to 5th and 6th class is much different to 5th and 6th year in secondary school.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer enough in 5th and 6th year to be saying no means no and yes means yes. And you need to get into a lot more of the grey areas.
You do, yeah.
And what about then, because I'm really interested in, because this is, and I hate that this is such a kind of a hot topic because it really frustrates me. But when we think about gender, Because as we know, we hear this thing of the transgender debate, which is another term I hate because it's like, what are we debating? Trans people exist. Does that need to be a debate? But especially at the moment, everything that's in the media, a lot of transphobic content and sentiments being shared. So how do you broach that with kids? How do you talk about gender, or do you talk about gender? Or, how do you approach it?
Yeah, so I would have approached gender with my kids from a young age in a similar way to how I approached, say, differently ably bodied people. So you'd be playing, I remember playing a Lego game with one of my kids, and they decided that they would get married and that the bride was in a wheelchair. And, so it would be like having those conversations with kids through play around, what different types of bodies look like, different people's choices. I think exposure as well, like my kids knew people who were trans. So...
I mean, that certainly helps.
It does, and obviously I am a queer person myself, and I am, I am genderqueer person, but I didn't really realise that for most of my parenting life. And I kind of realised that through my autism, actually. Through realising that I was autistic, I then was like, okay, maybe I can own this part of myself. Because to me, even though I deeply respect everybody's choice to present in a particular way as a particular gender, and I understand very well some people have really strong feelings about it. I don't.
Okay.
And I find it kind of odd that we have this like real gendered reality. And so, and I find that really a bit strange, but also I'm deeply respectful and supportive of people who are binary trans. So who are binary trans people. And so I feel like I'm a bit of an outlier because other non-binary people, I think, are coming at it from a different perspective to me. But so I don't tend to kind of jump in that space very much because I feel like where I'm coming from with it is a bit of a different space.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, essentially it's just about respecting other people's choices about what they do with their own body and how they present in the world. And like, they're such basic things.
Yes,
like,
I know.
Like who else, what other portions of society do we go around and try and say to them, listen, you can't use the name that you are choosing to use. Like anyone can legally change their name. Anybody can legally change their name. Anybody can wear anything that they want to wear. These are things that we allow in society. So, we don't go around and just pick on the man in a suit and say to him, oh, why are you wearing that suit? Why are you calling yourself a man? Why are you called Patrick?
Exactly.
Like it's so bizarre to me why we pick on some people and decide, no, the way that you're choosing to dress, the way that you're choosing to define your gender, the way that you're, the name that you have chosen, these things are unacceptable to us in our society, and we're going to pick on you for it.
100%. It's funny, a bit of a side note, but I'm still learning about, obviously myself, we're all learning about ourselves, but after finding out I'm autistic and just kind of learning different parts of myself that, make a bit more sense now. So when it comes to like, sometimes I love a good rule, right? But the rules I like are very like, you queue here, you don't skip the queue. Like things like that. Or I don't know, just other examples of things running like efficiently because we're all following. I love that. But try and tell me anything about how someone should dress or how they should have sex or how they should, anything got to do with that. I'm like, oh no, I reject everything in that sense. So it's like, I just found it really interesting because I was like, why am I so rigid in some ways?
But
and
those
so
rigid ways you're talking about are also essentially ways of being respectful with other people.
I agree. Yeah.
So I think
and that's why they make sense to me.
Your core fundamental value there is one of respecting other people.
Yes.
And so they are actually consistent, those views that you're saying there. It's just, you like queuing because that's a fair system that's respectful to other people.
Yes.
And you like respecting what other people, how they choose to present or dress or whatever. Because that's respectful to other people.
That's a really good point. And that sums it up really nicely because what I've learned is if something doesn't make sense to me, like I'll really struggle with it, maybe reject it for a long time until it might eventually make sense. And sometimes it never makes sense. But as you said, like, yeah, like even let's say queuing and don't skip the queue, which is a really simple one. But yeah, that makes sense because then everyone, it's, as you said, it's fair and it's respectful. But telling someone, you know, oh, you can't have, I don't know, long hair because you have a penis as well. You can't paint your nails because you have a penis.
Yeah.
I'm like, explain that more because that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And it just side note, as you were talking.
It's not respectful.
I felt my brain. It is disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I think good point there about talking to children about, you know, gender, but even just on a broader scale, just about respecting other people. And
exactly. And also there's the piece around, you know, if your kids are a bit older, there's the piece around the history of the whole colonization of gender. Essentially, the gender binary is a part of the colonialist project. So that's why you don't find binary genders in Indigenous cultures.
So just one more thing on what you were explaining there, because I'm really conscious everyone is at a different place in their journey about learning about whatever it be, gender, sexuality, language. What does gender queer mean to you when you say that I'm gender queer? And I know that's probably a big question, but
it to me it means I personally struggle with a gender binary.
Yes.
I don't have a deep attachment to a gender. I don't have a deep attachment to a pronoun. So if somebody is like he, okay, if that's how you perceive me, I have no problem with that.
Okay.
I don't feel deeply attached to identifying with a particular gender. I think I'm a person, a human on the planet. I like to express myself often in ways that society perceives as quite feminine. But I also like to rock a moustache because I actually look really good with a moustache.
Fab.
So, I just like to be be a bit more playful and a bit more fun about things and not be so
seriously.
rigid and kind of like, oh, you can and can't do these things. I'm so not interested in that stuff. I think I have a generally very unconventional approach to life in my various ways, you know. Like I've married the same person 7 times and we always get married in front of strangers, you know, and we created our own ceremony that isn't based on obligation, but is based on a commitment to growth and change and to keep deciding if we choose this connection.
Oh, I love that so much.
So it's not a like, you're stuck with me now. It's like every so often we say, do we still choose this?
Yeah.
Do we've both grown, we've both changed.
Yeah.
We've changed in the last few years since we last got married.
Yeah.
Do we still choose this? And we have that conversation. And, you know, that's pretty unconventional.
It is, but again, makes total sense. Like to me.
It makes sense to me too.
It makes sense to me
because
I would never want someone to feel like they have to stay with me because, like, obviously you don't want someone bolting at the first sign of trouble, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what we're doing here. It's just, again, and that word consciously making that decision of, is this still good for both of us?
Yeah.
Because some relationships don't last for life, but that doesn't mean they can't be amazing and wonderful and... I think unconventional, but in my head, I'm like, that should be conventional. It just makes sense.
Well, again, if we go back early enough in Irish history, they had something a bit similar because they had the ham fasting, which lasted for 1 year.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, they would come together and decide whether or not they were going to choose to continue to stay married or whether they were going to go their separate ways.
Okay.
So there was sort of an aspect of that in Irish culture in the past.
Okay, yeah. So again, it was there, but it's been wiped out.
It has, and the church took control over weddings and marriages. So,
I'm a firm believer that when it comes to sex, there's always more to learn and always more to explore. And that's why we have weekly bonus content of the G-Spot available when you sign up to Headstuff Plus. So that is double the episodes. And not only do you get all of that, but you also get access to all the bonus content of the other Headstuff podcasts. You get ad-free listening, and it's an amazing way to support my work, which I really, really do appreciate. You get all of this for just €5 plus VAT per month, and you can sign up by going to headstuffpodcast.com. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the episode.
This is how it's always been.
Hello, I'm Anna Carey.
And I'm Karen Moynihan.
And we're here to interrupt the podcast you're listening to right now.
We wanted to tell you about our show, Double Love.
Double Love is a podcast in which we discuss every Sweet Valley High book in the series in such great detail that you don't even need to have read them to follow along with us.
There's school dances, motorbike crashes, evil doppelgangers, questionable survival schools, and even werewolves and vampires.
Yeah, we're as surprised as you are by that. We did not see that coming. The wheels really come off later in the series, and you'll see what we mean.
So join us over at Double Love for your fix of Sweet Valley nonsense every other Thursday here on the Head Stuff Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts.
Ah, Smart Water. Pure, crisp taste.
That's really good water.
It's the kind of water that says, I have my life together.
I do feel more sophisticated.
Smart Water. For those with a taste for taste. Grab yours today.
Get lost in the acoustic brilliance of 3D audio that surrounds you. Feel the embrace of the massage seats that adapt to your every move. Experience the warmth of a vehicle that welcomes you as you approach. We could tell you what makes a Lincoln SUV so extraordinary, but don't take our word for it. Take it on a test drive at the Lincoln Summer Invitation with exclusive offers on now, only at your local Lincoln retailer.
Speaking of conscious decisions and being very intentional, we've very briefly, just over text, we're chatting about something else that you're, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but knowledgeable about, passionate about, possibly, which I think feeds really well into a dilemma we received. So I'll give us the dilemma.
Yeah.
Dear Grace, finding it hard to get excited about sex anymore. Been with my amazing partner for 10 plus years. Although I do like feeling close to him, I'm just bored of the same routine every time. But at the same time, neither of us are very kinky / adventurous. So how do we make it more enjoyable? And when I read that, I was like, oh, I think this fits really nicely into conscious sexuality.
Yeah. So I am a big proponent of conscious kissing. And it happened organically for Andrew and I that we would kiss and we'd be very deeply present and very conscious. I'm going to keep using that word, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's okay.
We were very conscious and we kissed. And then after we stopped kissing, the first time it happened, after we stopped kissing, we both felt altered, like we were in an altered state. And I was saying, because we were actually in my car at the time and we were saying goodbye to each other and he was about to get out of the car. And I said, I don't think I can drive. Like I actually feel like I'm a bit high. And it was really bizarre. I'd never heard of anything like this. I was like, what's happening, you know? And then he said, well, I feel really lightheaded and I feel a bit weird too, you know? So the two of us kind of sat in the car for a while and we're just sitting there going, wow, okay, what is that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time it happened. And then it happened, you know, quite a lot after that. And we realized that it was kind of the level of presence and consciousness that we were both bringing to the experience was creating an altered state of consciousness for us both. And it was profoundly interesting to me, this idea that you can get high from kissing. Like I did write an article about it on my Medium page about getting high from kissing. But we had a really intense experience of it after we'd attended a conscious sexuality festival.
Okay.
And it was 3 days long. And so we'd been to lots of different events and workshops and stuff like that. And then on the last day of it, after it was all over, we were in Belfast and we were in Belfast together and we decided that we would spend the day just doing consciousness practices. And we were going for lunch. So we decided to consciously eat our food, which meant eating very slowly.
Yeah.
And really savouring every moment. And I'm sure the people in the restaurant thought we were high on something. And like we were high, but we weren't high on any substance. And then we walked through the streets very consciously. And then I actually felt so altered that I kind of felt a bit unsafe on the streets. Like I felt like I wasn't I was very vulnerable.
Right, yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
So we stopped at the Waterstones Cafe in the bookstore there, and I went to the toilet and I was gone for about 40 minutes because I became really obsessed with the big posters of the book posters in the toilets. I just stood there, kind of losing myself in these posters. And so we realized then that because we had kissed just before we went in to the bookstore, and then we realized that we actually needed to try and consciously get out of that state.
Yeah.
Because we were both in such a vulnerable space.
Okay.
We were so altered.
Yeah.
So I think that experience shows the capacity for great intimacy and altering of experience through something as simple as kissing.
Yeah.
So for the person that you're talking about, it's just not having this expectation that like we're going to have sex or that we're necessarily going to do anything particularly sexual, but just being deeply present and aware and not having anything else to do or any other demands on you in that moment, and actually just spending some time kissing each other in a very slow, conscious, beautiful, connected way, I think could be quite altering and could be quite a beautiful experience for them. We certainly continue to do that, but only when those conditions are right. So it wouldn't be like, I'm meeting you in Connolly Station and we're standing there having a kiss and oh, well, now we're high. It's not like that. It's those moments where you're just on your own in a space. There's no pressure on you. And you can be really deeply present with a person and really connected to them and really take your time. So, yeah, I think that kind of slowing down and not thinking, well, we need to climax or something.
Yes.
Like there's other ways to have pleasurable experiences other than just, oh, I've had an orgasm or, So I would say that's not kinky.
No.
And that's not particularly kind of experimental.
Yeah.
It's just really being very present and aware. And I think there's a lot of potential there for people to maybe become much more intimate with their partner if you just slow down and get very present with it.
I agree. And I think, even that they mentioned, oh, we're not particularly kinky or adventurous. I think sometimes, again, it's just from what we've been fed, I suppose, by the media over years of, the way you spice things up is something like a new toy or handcuffs or whatever. And that's all fine, whatever, absolutely. Yeah. But, I'd often be encouraging people very similar to what you've said there about the word I would often use is intention. Like, bring more intention to your sex life rather than going through the motions. Like you said with your relationship where you I said, is this still serving us? Do we still want this? Look at your sex life and say, is this still working for us? And it's, even for that person, communicating that to your partner doesn't have to be saying, I'm bored or I don't enjoy it. It could just be saying, I want to explore more with you. I want to see what else we might enjoy. Like when people feel like they're stuck in this routine and there's no novelty where there might be kissing followed by fondling or touching each other and then penetrative sex, right? Which is what I see a lot in work where people feel stuck in that.
Yeah.
If you're repeating that over and over, you kind of need to just like smash through that. Like break through that routine, take sex off the table even. Like put aside some time thoughtfully and don't focus on sex, focus on pleasure.
Focus on intimacy.
And connection. Yeah.
Focus on intimacy rather than sex as an end outcome.
Yeah. As an act like that you have to do.
Yeah. And if you bring presence to anything in life, it makes it much better.
Yeah.
And you feel much better in yourself.
Yeah. You get more out of it.
Yeah, you feel more grounded and you feel more connected with other people when you bring presence to things. And so that it's a great practice in presence in terms of doing that with somebody else that you already have an intimate connection with.
Yeah.
It's wonderfully, it's a wonderful exercise and a wonderful way in to then also bring that into your everyday life. Because the goal is to be as present as possible at all times, I think. rather than just sort of going through the motions.
Yeah, because that's not sexy. Like, it's totally understandable that that's not really going to engage like your brain, because your brain is having sex as well. It's a hugely important part. It's not going to keep you as engaged in the whole experience if you know what's coming next. And you're kind of half you is just nearly letting it happen, or, you know, you don't feel active. What you're describing reminds me of Tantra and tantric practices. That kind of idea of bringing all the senses in, making it a really full experience, not just...
And I do say to people who ask me about conscious sexuality and about a way in there, I suggest to people that they start with Tantra, with going to see a tantric practitioner. But that's with the caveat that you want to go to a tantric practitioner who is incredibly experienced and who is very ethical.
Yes, because there's, I'm sure, a lot of people in that, there's some people in that space
there
that could
is.
be
There
really
is. And that is why, you know, I kind of distance myself from that more structured movement of conscious sexuality in Ireland, was because I started to become aware of and then very uncomfortable by some of the practitioners. So I cautiously advise people to look at Tantra.
Yeah, even just starting by learning about it, you know, because sometimes people can, again, if they're kind of feel that they've been doing it this way for years, and I don't know where this person is from, but I obviously work largely with Irish people, and we do... You know, we don't need to go into the history again, but we can sometimes have that deep resistance to that kind of sexuality that is that bit more, what would you say, thoughtful or more out there, just beyond, you know.
And even just talking about it too can be difficult. About it. So like even for the couple that you mentioned there, you know, it would be great if you could sort of recommend to them that they even just spent some time naked together, and each of them being able to say, what I'd really like in this moment is this. But I understand that that's such a difficult thing for some people to do, and particularly some Irish people who've grown up with particular conditioning. It can be really hard to articulate what you would like.
But you do get better. I always say the only way to get better at that is to do it. You will get more confident, more comfortable asking for what you like. If you just keep trying, keep pushing through the discomfort a bit, you'll get more connected to your body. There's something called the 3-minute game by... it's based on a model by Dr. Betty Martin, where we look at the giving. Do you know what? The giving, receiving, the wheel of consent. And there's a book out now which is great. But even just doing the 3-minute game, so look up the 3-minute game. That's a lovely way of bringing conscious touch. And again, we're focusing on connecting, communicating, being in our bodies. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and I think it'd be lovely if we as a society could lose the idea of sex meaning penetration.
Yes, 100%.
Like, you know, sex can be so many things.
So many things.
And pleasure, if pleasure was our goal rather than sex, I think, like sex as in penetration, I think we would be having very different experiences. If we were meeting someone in an intimate situation and thinking, my goal here is pleasure, you know, I'm autistic, so I say I have the worst pillow talk in the world, because I say things like, you have satisfied me. Thank you. You know, thank you. You have done a good job. Like, I am very satisfied now. Well done. Like, I'm literally like a teacher, you know, leaving like notes. Yeah, I am so
give your gold stars next to the bed
at pillow talk. Like, I am the absolute worst at it, because I'm just like, yeah, I came here to get pleasure, and you did what I needed from you, and well done, you. Like, you know,
high five.
Yeah. I'm so unsexy. I'm the most unsexy person ever when it comes to pillow talk, and it's that autism piece, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, pleasure. You know, it's pleasure. It's not like, wow, that penetrative sex was amazing.
Yeah.
It's wow, I had a really pleasurable experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And that doesn't always come from penetrative sex.
No. Yeah.
So
there's so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's your goal, if you go in going, look, we're not sex, like you said, sex is off the table. We're here about intimacy, connection, presence, and pleasure. What could happen then if that couple went in and went to bed together naked and said, this is what the deal is here.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to make a rule that we don't have penetrative sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
penetrative sex is not even allowed right now. You know, like,
well, that helps with that mindset shift. And although it can be uncomfortable and it can feel awkward and it can feel weird, at first, that's normal. Like that kind of nearly has to happen sometimes. And then you're going to come through that and you're going to be so glad you did.
Yeah, because I think the other thing around this, and particularly pertinent for Irish people, I think can have difficulty in asking for what they want.
Oh, 100%.
You know,
no worries if not.
Yeah. And also, like,
I'm
sort of like, oh, we need more milk, and then nobody will get up and ask for more. And I'm like, well, I go and ask for more milk.
Yeah,
you know? You go and ask.
Yeah,
no one wants to even ask for more milk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we've paid for the tea.
Yeah.
Like, we need more milk.
I know.
You know, and I like, it blows my mind, you know, the how non-assertive a lot of Irish people can
be. I'm guilty of
be
that,
really
so
kind
I
of
get
afraid to ask for
Yeah.
things, even things you're entitled to. And I think there's a whole piece of work around that too, and around empowering people to ask for things or to say what they would like. It's in sexual situations. It's more about like communicating. So it's more about this is what I would like than, you know, asking necessarily.
Yeah.
But I think it is that resistance to asking that feeds into the sex life and makes people feel uncomfortable. So there's a lot of things that, you know, we need to go back and unpick. And that's why I think parenting in the next generation is how we make these social changes.
Yeah.
Be teaching kids about their bodies, making sure they don't feel shame about it, unpicking this stuff around asking for what you want.
Yeah.
And hopefully create a generation that doesn't have to deal with all the issues that our generations had to deal with.
Absolutely. And like that, it's not just about what happens in the bedroom, and I'm blue in the face from always saying this, but like that's a perfect example. Like if I can't ask for more milk in a restaurant, how am I going to ask my partner to go down on me? Like, you know what I mean? It really does transcend into all areas of our life. And I work a lot with the book field, The Fear Do It Anyway, where a kind of a bottom-up approach of why don't you just do it, like as an experience, and just see what happens. Just ask and see what happens. And it can be so powerful because people realize, oh yeah, like nothing bad happened. I just asked and I did it. And slowly the comfort zone gets bigger then. And,
exactly.
Okay, fabulous. So I might finish off. Now this is a bit putting you on the spot as a question, but I'd love to know if you can think of anything. What do you think the best piece of advice that you've gotten is regarding sex? Like the best piece of sex advice you've ever gotten that has stuck with you?
When you say sex advice, my brain immediately goes back to like Cosmo and, you know, stuff from like when I was 19 or something. Like
use an ice cube,
you know. How to give a perfect blowjob.
That's probably not the best you've gotten.
Look, it's just probably going to be something I've already talked about really in terms of bringing that level of conscious awareness to each other's bodies, to your own body. And to your partner or partner's bodies, I think can be really quite profound. And I'm thinking back to a workshop that I did with my partner, and there was no physical touching in it, but a process that we did. I'm pretty sure he's going to be okay with me saying this.
Ask him.
I message you afterwards.
We can clip it out if we need to.
But anyway, we were both, but it wasn't about sex and it wasn't about touching even, but it was running my hands around his body, very close to his body, but not actually touching him.
Okay.
And it was a level of intimacy and connection that I don't think I'd kind of experienced with somebody before, because I think we rarely take the time to be, it's a very vulnerable situation to be in, first of all, to have somebody laying naked in front of you, and then you're sort of essentially offering yourself up for inspection in a way, you know, and then to have your partner kind of running their hands over you but not actually touching you. But you can feel the heat from their hand. And you can feel the movement and you can feel the love and the intention and the consciousness. And I think that was a really altering experience of doing that for each other, and forged a deeper connection between the two of us. So I don't know if that's really advice, but I suppose it was a practice.
Yeah. And I think it is, because sex advice, again, it's not just about sex. That's about something. The word erotic is coming to mind. It mightn't even have been, as you said, about sex or about, but just listen to that. That sounds like a real erotic energy as well.
Yeah, it was an erotic
really
energy,
powerful,
very intimate and very conscious and very present. And just a very kind of interesting, different approach, I think, that I had never really thought about before or tried before. And but requires a huge amount of vulnerability.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're lying there fully
I
naked.
can imagine that. Yeah. But again, vulnerability is the doorway into a really deep, really fulfilling sexual experiences.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Taryn.
Yeah, thank you.
People can find you where I found you, I think, was on Instagram, probably, Taryn De Vere. But anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm kind of on all the platforms except for what used to be Twitter.
Yeah.
Because I've left there. But I'm everywhere else at Taryn De Vere. And thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.